Converted Man here. Poe, Part 2. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. And when I am wrong, it means that I get to learn something new and hopefully learn from that mistake and not repeat it. I'm only human. I make mistakes. I make errors. I don't get everything right. Just so. Okay. So, what am I leading up to? What am I saying that I was wrong about? Nothing. I'm never wrong. No, I mean, Poe is not a logical fallacy. There, I've said it. Hope you're all happy. Hope I'm happy. I'm not happy. Okay, but seriously, I was wrong. It was an error to say it. What I meant to say is irrelevant. What I wanted to say doesn't matter. I said it. It's wrong. Time to fix that. What I should have said was that when we call or infer that someone's a Poe, even if we are right, we are committing a fallacy, an attack to the person ad hominem. That's the logical fallacy that we're performing. Well, shame on me for being wrong, at least in that particular moment. The rest of the video, I think, still is good enough to get the talking points going, which is what it did. So, good for me for doing at least that part right, sort of, somehow. Anyway, so I'm going to comment on the comments, at least the ones that are there when I'm making this video, and then later on there will be more, and nothing I do makes sense. Okay, look, I'm going to do this, whatever. Here I go. Frederick F. Props where it's due. You point out correctly that a unicorn would fit the bill of things that we do not think are real, and then ask if a unicorn would be a fallacy. And since I've corrected myself, the answer is no. Unicorns nor Poes are themselves logical fallacies. What they are is concepts in the mind. Both are things we can talk about, we can write about, perhaps make pictures of, and communicate the idea of, but neither exists as an object in the world, at least as far as we know. It might be similar to the phenomenon of universals versus particulars. Universals simply do not exist other than in our minds, yet describe things that are real. The particulars are the actual things themselves that the universals are describing. Allow me to explain. A universal is the concept itself, like cat, house, car, triangle. But the particular is the actual thing rather than the universal concept. A particular cat, a particular house, car, or triangle. You cannot think triangle. You can only think about a particular triangle type. The universal idea of triangle is something that we can't communicate, and itself doesn't really exist. Only the particulars do. Anyways, it gets way more complicated than that, and I would refer you to Adler if you want to read more about universals and particulars. And I don't agree with everything Adler says, but he explains those things far better than I could. So Poes might not exist as objects, but they do exist as ideas in our mind. Cerebrus Cheerleader found it curious that I would tackle something that's in the vein of humor, but it's not relevant whether it's humorous or not. Just because it has humor in it doesn't mean that logic isn't present, and in fact, humor itself could be logically analyzed. There is a science to why people find certain things funny. So hopefully I've satisfied your curiosity. I will apply logic whenever I can apply logic, and there are certain situations and things that logic just can't address. But you can try anyways! The thing that I wanted to clarify to Cerebrus was that I sometimes am very interested in finding out if a person is serious or not, or what the person's motive behind doing this or that is, and sometimes I just don't care, but whether I'm interested in that or not is something that's irrelevant. I cannot use logic to figure out what a person's motive is. It's just something that logic can't do. So, although many times I would love to tell you, my listeners, what a person's motive is, I can't. I can tell you my motives, but I can't tell you anyone else's, and I wouldn't even want to guess at what their motives might be. But Cerebrus should get some props here because they do correctly point out that we have a social ability to determine what a person is or is not doing based on facial inflections, vocal inflections, and so on and so forth. Subconscious as well as conscious cues that we've evolved over time. Some of these might be lost in the medium of the internet, and there is a way to study what is lost as well, and all of it is lost in writing. We have to completely rely on our own interpretation when we read something, and it's a good deal of debate on that subject that I don't even want to get into. But as far as logic is concerned, it just strips away all of the emotional elements, and it's not concerned with whether or not somebody is joking or sarcastic. In fact, it doesn't seem that logic is able to determine those things, at least not yet. Perhaps one day we'll formulate logic in a way that it can determine such things. Cerebrus says also we could ignore person X. We don't have to take them seriously. I agree, we don't have to take them seriously. But that doesn't mean we have to ignore them. We can ignore them. I could, if I wanted to, analyze one of Edward Current's videos, even with the knowledge that he is not being serious, even though we could say and prove that he is not being serious. I could still analyze a video that he does with logic and come to the correct amount of logical fallacies that are produced within that video, because his intentions are irrelevant to that discussion and analysis. Wolfwing gets it on the head. It's a self-defeating thing. That's my point. And I'm glad that even though I made an error, that Wolf could still understand what my point was. He also musses deeper into the subject of labels, which is something that logic actually has a lot to say about that issue. But I'll have to address that issue some other time, and I'll talk about it in reference when I'm speaking on the issue of natural language, which is a huge issue to cover. Would take me a lot of videos to really give it the treatment it deserves, and it is a big issue that informal logic has to deal with. The issue of natural language, and labels is a part of that. Dath Bullum says outright that I'm wrong. Darn it, Dath, stop being right. Sort of. I was wrong about the thing that I said I was wrong about. But, you know, did I not get the rest of it right? Come on, give me some slack here. Come on. Alright, but anyways, you give an argument that suggests there is a system to decide whether there is or is not a Poe. And I think this is a system to work on, that we could iron out a system better with others in some sort of collaboration. Obviously, we would have to PM each other on it, and it'd be an interesting project for me at any rate. Maybe nobody else would care, but I think it would be interesting to do. We could make a system, and there might be a system that I'm unaware of. So you've given a decent outline to the beginning of an argument against what I was saying. It's not a full argument yet, so I would dare not analyze it because I would crush you. But but I get what you're saying, and I totally think that you've got it, that there is a system, and we need to figure out ways of making this system better. That I didn't know about that system does excuse me in a way from what I said. I did say in my video I don't know of any system to analyze this. So I'm glad you brought that to the table, is what I'm trying to say. I wanted people to bring their ideas to the table and say, yeah, well, I know of this system, so you saying you know of a system is a great thing. Let's explore that system. Let's see if it is something we can make even better than it might already be. But I'd have to correct you just a little bit. You said that it was a fallacy what I said when I said that a Poe is a fallacy. Sort of. It's incorrect. What I said is incorrect. It's not really a fallacy. So, yeah, I'm wrong, but that doesn't make it a fallacy. I guess, actually, let me take that back. You could make the argument that it's an outright lie because it's not true. So, you didn't make that argument, so I'm still technically right. So I kind of won, but you mostly won in your comment. So, yeah, man, it's just so hard being wrong. I'm okay. All right, so thanks for correcting me. I hope that you understand my points and I was able to slightly correct you a little bit. Captain Andy makes some great points, but perhaps one could make the argument that Edward incorrectly files his videos. Of course, I would not make such an argument, but I think that Edward filing videos under comedy should clue us in. Perhaps that idea could be included with Darth's ideas of how to figure out if someone is a Poe or not. But in this case, Edward is cluing us in, whereas others might not clue us in. Grillata, I don't have any idea, I'm sorry, says that we have social evidence that Edward's a Poe. My thrust and Mussy on the question of if someone says they are or are not something, is that enough to believe that they are or not? And in a social context, yes. But in logic, maybe not. That was my whole thrust in bringing that up as an issue. So he seems to be clued in on that that's my thrust. And it does depend on what their claim is. So it seems that there might not be a straightforward answer to the question, can we believe what someone claims to be? The answer isn't yes. The answer isn't no. The answer is it depends. Finally, GibberSci001 suggests that just because something might be funny doesn't mean that we can let it go or should let it go by unchallenged, and I agree. Okay, so that's all of you for now, and later other people might comment, and then I'll have to make another video, or I don't know. What was I thinking? I mean, it's like, man, seemed like a good idea at the time. At least this time I'm not going to promise part 2 if somebody asks for a part 2. That was a mistake I'm not going to make again. I know who that is. See you next time. Well, not see you because I don't see you. I guess so. How should I put that? I'll let's see. What have I got? I'll hear from you next. No. I'll read you next time, I guess. I don't know anymore. I'm sorry, doing this brain outie video just melted my brain, and no one cares. Like, I made a third video. No one's posted. No one cares. I could keep going on and on about brain outie. Nobody would care. Oh, woe is me. Okay. I should probably end this. I didn't have any way to exit. I can't say the thing I always say. That doesn't make sense this time. How do I stop? How do I end this video? Oh my word. There's no way out. There's no way out.